The office buzzed with the usual Monday morning chaos, phones ringing, fingers clicking against keyboards, and the hum of coffee machines brewing one desperate cup after another. I was buried in emails when my phone lit up with a familiar name. Lily, a rare call from my younger sister. My stomach twisted. It was never just a call to check in. It was always about something they needed. I sighed, swiping to answer. "Hey, Lily, what's up?" Her voice was light, cheerful, almost too casual. "Hey, Em, just wanted to let you know we're all set for Hawaii." Hawaii. My fingers froze on the keyboard. My breath hitched. I swallowed hard, forcing my voice to stay even. "Hawaii? Oh, yeah," she said, as if I should have already known. "Mom, Dad, me and Ryan are heading there next week. It's going to be amazing. The resort has these insane ocean views, and there's a private beach just for guests." Every word was a stab to the chest. They had planned an entire trip, a family trip, and I hadn't even been considered. Again. I could already picture them, Mum lounging under a sun umbrella with her oversized sunglasses, Dad sipping his morning coffee by the shore, Lily and Ryan snapping selfies by the infinity pool. And me, I wasn't even an afterthought. Before I could process the hurt, Lily continued, her tone breezy. "Oh, and we need you to watch Luna and Milo while we're gone." I blinked. "Wait, what?" "The dogs," she said, as if I was slow. "You don't mind, right? It's only for a week. Milo gets a little anxious at night, so you might have to sleep over at Mum and Dad's, but..." I barely heard the rest. She hadn't called to invite me. She had called to assign me a favor. I clenched my jaw, gripping my phone tighter. "Lily, are you serious? You didn't even tell me about this trip, and now you're asking me to dog sit." Lily sighed, as if I was being difficult. "Emma, don't be dramatic. We figured you'd be busy with work anyway, and you love Luna and Milo." I let out a bitter laugh. "That's not the point, Lily. The point is that no one even thought to include me." "Well," she hesitated, "we just assumed you wouldn't be interested. You never really do vacations." The words stung more than they should have. I never do vacations because I'm always the responsible one, because I'm always picking up the slack, because no one ever thinks to invite me. I pressed my fingers to my temple, trying to keep my voice steady. "Lily, you didn't even ask me. You just assumed I'd be here, available, like always. Do you even realize how that feels?" She scoffed. "Oh, come on, Emma. You're overreacting. It's just a trip, and you're really the best with the dogs, you know that." I felt my breath shake. I was done. "Sorry, but I can't." A long silence, then an annoyed sigh. "Are you serious? Who else is going to watch them?" "Not my problem," I said, my voice eerily calm. Lily huffed. "Ugh, whatever, I'll figure it out." And just like that, she hung up. No apology, no realization of how much she had hurt me. I stared at my phone, my heart hammering in my chest. A part of me wanted to cry, another part wanted to scream. But instead, I opened my laptop, fingers trembling, and typed into the search bar. Flights to Thailand. Not Hawaii, not a place where I'd be reminded of how unwanted I was. Somewhere new, somewhere far away, somewhere where I could finally, for once, put myself first. My pulse pounded as I scrolled through the options. The idea had been buried deep inside me for years, a longing to escape, to break free from the role my family had trapped me in. And now the thought wasn't just a fantasy, it was a plan. I found a one-way ticket leaving in 3 days. One click, and everything would change. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going to wait for them to see me. I was going to see myself. The dim glow of my laptop screen illuminated my apartment as I sat cross-legged on my couch, my finger hovering over the Book Now button. A one-way ticket to Thailand. The idea had started as a fleeting thought, a rebellious impulse. But now, with the cursor blinking like a heartbeat, it was real. One click and everything would change. But change was terrifying. I exhaled shakily, my mind racing with memories, moments that had built up over the years, brick by painful brick, until I felt like a stranger in my own family. Lily's engagement party last year. She had been glowing, the centre of attention, while I stood on the sidelines. I had told Mum about my big promotion at work that same night, my voice laced with excitement. She had smiled absently, her eyes still on Lily. "That's nice, sweetie. Did you see Lily's ring?" I had laughed it off at the time, swallowing the sting like I always did. Then there was Christmas. The whole family gathered around the fireplace, unwrapping presents. Lily had gotten a designer bag from Mum and Dad. I got a scented candle. And now Hawaii. Another family trip planned without me. But when they needed something. Oh, then I existed. I swallowed hard, my eyes burning. This was what I had always been to them. The reliable one, the responsible one, the afterthought. But what about me? What about what I wanted? I glanced back at my screen. Thailand. It wasn't just about travel, it was about escape. About proving, to them and to myself, that I didn't have to be the person they expected me to be. My heart pounded as I flexed my fingers over the trackpad. Then I hesitated. What would they say when they found out? Mum would gasp, hand over her chest like I had told her I was moving to Mars. Thailand? Why on earth would you go there? Dad would probably be silent, pretending not to care. But maybe, just maybe, there would be a flicker of something else in his eyes. Lily, she'd scoff, roll her eyes. "You're being ridiculous, Emma. Running away doesn't solve anything." I knew exactly how this conversation would go. I had played the role of the dutiful daughter for so long that the idea of stepping outside that box would shock them. But that wasn't my problem anymore. For the first time in my life, I wasn't asking for permission. I clicked, booked. A confirmation email appeared in my inbox, and I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. It was done. I was going to Thailand. And for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt in forever: freedom. Excitement bubbled in my chest, but it was tangled with guilt. What if this was a mistake? I shook my head. Number. The real mistake would be staying in a life where I was invisible. I closed my laptop and leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling. In 3 days, I would be gone. No more waiting to be chosen, no more being the backup plan. This time, I was choosing myself. Sunday dinners at my parents' house had always been the same. Mum cooked enough food to feed an army, Dad poured himself a glass of whiskey, and Lily took over the conversation with whatever new wedding drama she had to share. It was routine, predictable, but tonight, everything was about to change. I sat at the dining table, gripping my fork so tightly my knuckles turned white. My heart pounded against my ribs as I stared at my family. The people who had, time and time again, made me feel like an outsider. Mum was ladling more mashed potatoes onto Lily's plate, her wedding ring catching the chandelier light. Dad was silent, cutting into his steak with slow precision. And Lily, my ever-perfect sister, was laughing at something her fiancé, Ryan, whispered in her ear. They were happy, blissfully unaware of the storm I was about to bring down on this table. I took a deep breath. I'm going to Thailand. The words sliced through the air, sharp, undeniable. The clatter of silverware. Mum's fork slipped from her fingers, landing with a dull thud on her plate. The conversation died instantly. Then the reaction I had expected. "What about the dogs?" Mum's voice was shrill, demanding, as if my entire existence revolved around Luna and Milo. I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. "That's your first concern?" Mum's eyes narrowed. "Emma, you promised you'd take care of them." "No," I corrected, my voice steady despite the fire burning in my chest. "You assumed I would." Lily scoffed, rolling her eyes like I was being ridiculous. "Oh my God, Emma, you're being so dramatic." I slammed my fork down, the sound startling even me. "Am I, Lily?" Because I think what's dramatic is planning an entire family trip without me and only calling when you needed something. Her jaw tightened. We didn't think you'd want to come. You didn't ask, I shot back. My voice wavered, but I held my ground. You never ask. You just assume I'll be here, waiting, ready to do whatever you need. But guess what? I'm done. A heavy silence blanketed the room. Mum looked like I had slapped her. Her lips parted, her expression shifting from shock to something colder. Emma, I don't understand where this attitude is coming from. We're family. Family helps each other. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Funny, because I don't remember anyone helping me when I needed it. Dad had been quiet through all of this. His fork paused mid-air, his gaze locked onto me. He hadn't spoken a word, but there was something in his eyes, something I had never seen before. Pride. I swallowed hard, looking away. I wasn't ready to process that. Ryan, who had been smart enough to stay silent so far, finally cleared his throat. Emma, Thailand is kind of far. Are you sure this isn't like a spur-of-the-moment thing? Lily nodded eagerly, jumping on his words. Exactly. You're just mad about Hawaii, and now you're doing this to prove a point. I met her gaze, my voice deadly calm. No, Lily, I'm doing this because I'm tired of being invisible. She faltered, eyes darting to Mom, who still looked stunned, betrayed. I leave in 3 days, I continued, pushing my plate away. I'm not asking for permission. I'm not asking for approval. I'm just letting you know. A beat of silence. Then Mom stood, grabbing her plate as she shook her head. Well, I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. Her words were sharp, but her voice trembled. She walked out of the dining room before I could say anything else. Dad exhaled, rubbing his temples. Let her cool off, he muttered. Lily just crossed her arms, frowning. You're gonna regret this. I looked around at the faces of the people who had shaped my life, who had never truly seen me until this very moment. And I realized something. I wasn't afraid of leaving anymore, I was afraid of staying. The moment I stepped back into my apartment, my phone exploded with notifications. I exhaled, leaning against the door, my heart still pounding from the dinner. I had known they wouldn't take the news well, but I hadn't expected this level of resistance. I glanced at my phone. Mum. Luna won't eat without you. She's just lying by the door, waiting. Do you really want her to suffer? A sharp pang hit my chest, but I forced myself to breathe through it. Guilt. That was always Mum's weapon of choice. Lily, voicemail. You're ruining everything. Mum is crying, Dad is stressed, and I have way too much on my plate already. Can't you just be normal for once? I clenched my jaw, my fingers tightening around the phone. Normal. That was code for compliant, silent, invisible. Then a missed call from Dad. My stomach twisted. He rarely called me. Unlike Mum and Lily, he wasn't one for emotional outbursts. I hesitated, then played his voicemail. Dad, voicemail. Emma, look, I get that you're upset, but this is a big decision. Maybe we should talk. You don't have to prove anything, sweetheart. My breath hitched at the last word. Sweetheart. Dad hadn't called me that in years. I bit my lip, shaking my head. Was that concern? Or just another way to make me second-guess myself? Before I could dwell on it, a sharp knock at my door snapped me out of my thoughts. I peeked through the peephole and let out a relieved breath. Sarah! I swung the door open, and she barely waited for me to move before stepping inside, a bottle of wine in one hand and a takeout bag in the other. I come bearing emergency supplies, she announced, kicking the door shut behind her. A shaky laugh escaped me. You read my mind. She flopped onto my couch, already pulling out 2 wine glasses from my cabinet like she owned the place. So, how bad was it? I sighed, collapsing next to her. Mum guilt-tripped me about the dogs. Lily threw a fit. Dad didn't yell, which was weird. Sarah poured the wine, handing me a glass. Classic family manipulation. They can't believe you're finally choosing yourself. I stared at the deep red liquid, swirling it slowly. It just feels wrong, like I'm abandoning them. She arched an eyebrow. Emma, when have they ever put you first? I swallowed hard. You're not selfish, she continued, her voice firm. You're finally doing what's best for you. And they can't handle it because they're used to you being the backup plan, the one who says yes without question. My throat tightened. It's just, they're my family. And families should care about each other, Sarah countered, not just when it's convenient for them. I took a deep breath, feeling something shift inside me. Sarah was right. This wasn't betrayal. This wasn't abandonment. This was me, refusing to be an afterthought. I took a long sip of my wine, letting the warmth settle in my chest. I had spent years bending over backward for them, waiting for the moment when they would finally see me. But I was done waiting. I picked up my phone, my fingers hovering over my family's messages. Then, slowly, I silenced my notifications. Let them panic. Let them throw tantrums. I wasn't changing my mind. For the first time in my life, I was putting myself first. The moment I stepped off the plane, the thick, humid air of Thailand wrapped around me like a warm embrace. It smelled different. Spices, sea breeze, adventure. Everything here felt alive, buzzing with energy I had never known before. As I walked through the airport, dragging my suitcase behind me, a nervous thrill ran through me. I was alone, thousands of miles away from home. No one knew me here. No expectations, no responsibilities, no suffocating guilt. Just me. I checked into a small, cozy hostel nestled between bustling street markets and towering palm trees. The receptionist, a cheerful woman named Noi, greeted me with a wide smile and handed me the key to my room. First time in Thailand? She asked. I nodded. First time traveling alone. She chuckled. Then you're in for something special. That night I met Kai. I was sitting in the hostel's common area, scrolling through my phone, when a guy about my age dropped onto the couch beside me. First time in Bangkok? He asked, his voice carrying a slight accent. Australian, maybe? I glanced up. He had messy dark hair, tan skin, and the kind of easy confidence that only came with experience. A camera hung around his neck. Yeah, I said, setting my phone down. And honestly, I have no idea where to start. His grin widened. Well, lucky for you, I've been here for months. I can show you around. And that's how my adventure truly began. Kai was a travel blogger. He had been backpacking through Southeast Asia for nearly a year, documenting everything: the food, the landscapes, the people. He lived for the unknown, thrived on spontaneity, and he made me feel like the world was bigger than I had ever imagined. We spent our days exploring. Mornings were spent at ancient temples, where golden statues of Buddha towered over us, their presence serene, humbling. I listened as monks chanted in low, rhythmic voices, the sound vibrating through the air like a heartbeat. Afternoons were for adventure, hiking through dense jungles where the air smelled like damp earth and the distant roar of waterfalls echoed in the distance. Kai showed me secret paths, hidden caves, places tourists never thought to look. And the nights. The nights were magic. We sat on the beach, toes buried in soft sand, watching the sky explode into pink and orange as the sun dipped below the horizon. Lanterns floated above us, drifting toward the stars like tiny, glowing wishes. For the first time in forever, I felt alive. I started taking pictures, writing down my thoughts. Then, on a whim, I posted my first travel blog entry. I had never expected the response I got. Comments flooded in from strangers all over the world. This is exactly what I needed to read today. Your words are so raw, so real. Please keep sharing. I've always been afraid to travel alone, but you're inspiring me to go for it. People cared. People were listening to me. I wasn't just the forgotten daughter, the family doormat, the backup plan. I was Emma, a traveller, a storyteller, someone with a voice. And for the first time in my life, that voice was being heard. Back home, everything was falling apart without me. Mum had always insisted that taking care of Luna and Milo was easy, that I made too much of a fuss over their schedules and routines. But without me there, she quickly learned the truth. The text started slow. Mum, Luna isn't eating. What did you do when she was picky? I stared at the message from my tiny hostel in Chiang Mai, sipping Thai iced tea under fairy lights. A part of me itched to reply with instructions, to fix things like I always did. But another part of me, the part that was growing stronger every day, didn't. I let the message sit. Hours later, another text came. Mum, Milo won't stop barking at the door. It's like he's waiting for you. I don't know what to do. A twinge of guilt flickered in my chest, but I took a deep breath and reminded myself, this is not my responsibility anymore. By the third day, the text had turned into full-blown panic. Mum, I don't have time for this. Your sister's wedding planning is a nightmare, and now I have to deal with these dogs? Ah, there it was. The real issue. Lily's perfect wedding, the one she had been meticulously planning for years, was spiraling out of control without me. Sarah kept me updated. Your mum is losing her mind, she said during one of our late-night video calls. Apparently, Lily had a complete breakdown because her caterer cancelled. I raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. And she screamed at your mum for not handling things. Sarah rolled her eyes. Your mum had to admit that you were the one who usually smoothed things over. Without you, everything is chaos. I let that sink in. For years, I had been the glue holding my family together, the one who rearranged schedules, handled last-minute crises, kept everything running so no one else had to stress. But now, they were finally realizing what my absence meant. Dad's message days passed, and the messages from my mum and Lily became less frequent. Maybe they were finally starting to understand that I wasn't going to swoop in and save them. But one night, just as I was about to fall asleep in my little guest house by the beach, my phone lit up. Dad. I hesitated. He never texted me. When I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. Dad, your photos are incredible, Emma. I had no idea you were this talented. Tears pricked at my eyes. Dad had never been the type to give out compliments freely. Growing up, he had always been the quiet one, the one who let Mum and Lily take centre stage while I lingered in the background. And yet, he had been watching. I scrolled up, checking my blog's analytics. Sure enough, there it was, an unfamiliar visitor from my hometown, checking every single post. Dad had been following my journey. I wiped my eyes, my heart aching in a way I couldn't explain. All my life, I had wanted my family to see me. Now, from thousands of miles away, maybe, just maybe, they finally were. I never expected my words to resonate with so many people. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon in Krabi, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, I found myself staring at my laptop screen, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind. Adventure, self-discovery, and an aching realization of just how much I had been taken for granted. That night, something inside me broke free. I poured my heart into a blog post, letting the words flow like a confession I had never dared to voice out loud. For years, I was the reliable one, the one who dropped everything when my family needed me, even when it meant sacrificing my own happiness. I thought if I gave enough, if I stayed quiet and accommodating, they would finally see me. But the truth is, some people will only value you as long as you are useful to them. I wrote about breaking free from toxic family patterns, about the suffocating guilt, the emotional exhaustion, the fear of putting myself first. And most importantly, I wrote about finding myself again. Leaving wasn't easy. The guilt still creeps in sometimes. But for the first time in my life, I am living for me, and that is enough. I hesitated before hitting post. A small voice in the back of my mind whispered, "What if they read this?" Then I took a deep breath and did it anyway. The explosion. I woke up the next morning to hundreds of notifications. By noon, there were thousands. My blog post had gone viral. People from all over the world were sharing their own stories. This hit me so hard. I've been the reliable one my entire life, and I'm exhausted. I just cancelled my trip home for the holidays. I deserve peace too. Thank you for putting into words what I've been too afraid to admit. I scrolled through the comments, my heart pounding. For years, I had felt invisible, like my struggles didn't matter, like I was the only one drowning in this quiet kind of hurt. But I wasn't alone. I wasn't alone at all. Lily's message. That night, as I sat by the beach, watching the waves roll in under the moonlight, my phone buzzed with a message that made my breath catch. Lily. I read your post. My fingers trembled as I clicked on her message. I didn't realize how much I've hurt you. I never meant to make you feel this way. I stared at the words, my chest tightening. For years I had begged for recognition, for Lily to understand how it felt to always be second to her, to be the afterthought, the backup plan. And now here it was. An apology. Something inside me softened, but I wasn't ready to let my guard down completely. I typed back slowly. Thank you for saying that, but realizing it isn't enough. If things are going to change, it has to be real. She didn't reply right away, and that was okay. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for her validation. I had found my own. I hesitated before pressing send. The email sat open on my laptop screen, the cursor blinking at the end of my final sentence. A letter, raw, honest, and years overdue. For most of my life, I had swallowed my feelings, convincing myself that being the bigger person meant keeping the peace, even at the cost of my own happiness. But after everything, after the trip to Thailand, after my viral post, after Lily's unexpected message, I knew I had to say it, not just for them, for me. The letter that changed everything. Dear Mom, Dad and Lily, I don't even know how to start this, except to say I've spent years feeling like I don't matter. I have always been the one to compromise, to adjust, to step back and make room for everyone else. I was the easy one, the dependable one, the one who didn't cause problems. And because of that, I was forgotten, taken for granted, assumed to be okay, even when I wasn't. When you planned that trip without me, it broke something inside me, not because I wanted to go to Hawaii, but because it made me realize how little thought you gave to me. It wasn't an oversight, it was a pattern, one where my feelings were always an afterthought. I don't blame you for everything. I know I played a role too. I let it happen. I stayed quiet. I smiled when I was hurting. But I won't do that anymore. I don't need grand gestures. I don't need guilt. I just need you to see me. For the first time, I am living my life for myself, and I won't apologize for that. Emma. I read the words over and over, my heart hammering. Then I hit send, and I let it go. The call that shook me. I didn't expect a response. I had imagined all possible outcomes. Mum ignoring it, Dad staying silent, Lily getting defensive. But deep down, I had accepted that I might never get the acknowledgement I craved. So when my phone rang the next night and Mum's name flashed on the screen, my stomach twisted. I took a breath and answered. She was crying. Emma, her voice cracked. I just read your email. Silence stretched between us, thick with emotion. I'm so sorry, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. I didn't realize how much we've taken you for granted. My throat tightened. For years I had been waiting for those words. I gripped the phone, staring out at the night sky over Chiang Mai. The city lights flickered below, and for the first time I felt something inside me shift. The anger, the resentment, the weight of all those unspoken hurts. It didn't disappear completely, but it loosened. I swallowed hard. I needed you to see it, Mum, she sniffled. I see it now. And for the first time in my life, I believed her. Stepping off the plane, I felt the familiar chill of home settle into my bones. Thailand had been warm, not just in climate, but in spirit. Now, as I walked through the airport, rolling my suitcase behind me, I braced myself for what awaited me outside. Would my family really be there? Would things actually be different? I had imagined this moment 100 different ways. Would they act like nothing had happened? Would there be awkward small talk, forced smiles, or, worse, another round of guilt? I wasn't sure what I was walking into, but I knew one thing. I was different now. I had left as the invisible one, the afterthought, the girl who always put herself last. But I was coming back as Emma, the Emma who had found her voice, a different welcome. As I exited the terminal, my heart pounded. Then I saw them. Mum, Dad, Lily, standing together, waiting for me. Mum was the first to step forward. She didn't hesitate, didn't scold me for leaving, didn't launch into another guilt trip. Instead, she simply wrapped me in a tight hug. "I missed you so much," she whispered. I exhaled, my body sinking into the embrace. There was something different about the way she held me. It wasn't possessive, wasn't clinging. It felt like she finally saw me. When she pulled back, she wiped at her eyes and smiled. "I have something to show you." I raised a brow, but before I could ask, Lily spoke up. "You look different." There was no bitterness in her voice this time, no condescension, just an odd sort of admiration. "You're braver than I'll ever be," she admitted, looking almost embarrassed to say it. I blinked. Had my sister just complimented me? Dad gave me a nod, his face unreadable at first, but then a small smile tugged at his lips. "Come on," he said, "let's go home." A room transformed. I expected everything to be the same when I walked back into the house, the familiar smell of vanilla candles, the same furniture, the same atmosphere. But what I didn't expect was my bedroom. As I stepped inside, I froze. The walls were covered in my photos. Not just a few random snapshots, prints of my best work, images from Thailand, the bustling night markets, the golden temples, the quiet beaches. Mum stood behind me, her voice soft. "I framed some of your photos." I turned, my throat tight. You did this?" She nodded. "I wanted you to know that we see you now. We always should have, but..." She swallowed. "We're proud of you, Emma." Dad placed a hand on my shoulder, a rare moment of affection. "Really proud," he echoed. Lily lingered by the door, arms crossed like she was uncomfortable, but then she said, "I read every single blog post you wrote, and you were right about everything." She let out a breath. "I'm sorry." I hadn't realized how badly I needed to hear those words until they were finally spoken. Tears pricked my eyes, but this time they weren't from pain. For the first time, I wasn't just the reliable one, the convenient one, the background character in my own life. For the first time, I was Emma. And my family finally saw me. For the first time in my life, I was leading the way. Not following, not adjusting, not sitting on the sidelines while everyone else made the decisions. This time, it was my turn. When Mum suggested a family trip, to Japan of all places, I almost thought she was joking, but she wasn't. "We want you to plan it," she had said. "You know more about travel than any of us, and we trust you." Those words stayed with me as I carefully curated the itinerary, choosing places that weren't just the usual tourist spots, but places that meant something to me. Hidden temples, street food stalls, quiet parks where the cherry blossoms fell like snow. And for the first time ever, my family actually listened to me. A different kind of trip. When we landed in Tokyo, I half expected things to fall back into old habits. Mum taking control, Lily dismissing my suggestions, Dad quietly going along with it all. But something had shifted. Mum let me navigate the train system. Lily actually asked my opinion before choosing a place to eat. Dad, the least tech-savvy man I knew, had somehow learned how to comment on my blog posts. Incredible photo, Emma. Didn't know you had such an eye for detail. I almost dropped my phone when I saw his comment on one of my posts. He had never been the type to express his feelings openly, but this was his way of telling me he was proud. Under the cherry blossoms. On our last day in Kyoto, we visited Maruyama Park, where the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. The soft pink petals fluttered down like a dream, dusting the ground in a delicate blanket. I watched as my family stood beneath the trees, their faces tilted toward the sky, caught in the quiet magic of the moment. Lily turned to me, brushing a petal from her hair. "You know," she said, "I never thought I'd say this, but you're kind of amazing." I laughed. "That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me," she smirked. "Don't get used to it." Mom wrapped an arm around me. "This was the best trip we've ever taken." Because this time it wasn't just a trip, it was a new beginning. The blog that brought us together. By the time we flew home, my blog had taken on a new life. Mum and Dad read every post. Lily, shockingly, started helping me with social media, the same sister who used to roll her eyes whenever I talked about my passions. We weren't perfect, we still had our differences. But for the first time, I didn't feel like an outsider in my own family. I felt seen, heard, valued. As I sat at my desk, drafting my next blog post, I smiled at the title, Finding Myself and Finding My Family Along the Way. Because in the end, I didn't just escape, I changed. And they changed with me.